One thing I've noticed since I've been playing Hunt for so long, I started back in June of 2019. That's when I started playing Hunt. And one thing I've noticed playing Hunt for so long, many people now don't really know how trades used to be and the whole story of how they came to be and how they currently work. Maybe not everybody, but most people probably sees trades as like an annoyance in Hunt Showdown that we have to deal with. I wish a lot of people knew how they used to work, and that's what I'm going to describe to you now. I'm going to tell you how trades used to be. I'm going to tell you when they changed, how they work now, and why they don't make sense, in my opinion. There's going to be opinions in this video, so get ready for opinions. Old trades were actually funny because they were so rare. So when they did happen, it was like, oh wow, haha, we just traded. How silly. We just shot each other at the same time. That's so silly. It would only happen maybe once a week, maybe even less than that. But when they did happen, it wasn't quite as infuriating as it is now. One thing that a lot of people say is, you know, Hunt Showdown has bullet travel time and it's unavoidable to have trades, or at least that on some level trades have to happen in the game. And I agree with that. There are reasonable trades. What I think a reasonable trade is, let's say two people are really far away. Let's say they're both using a sniper and they both shoot at the same time. Their bullets cross each other's paths and they both hit their targets. That is a reasonable trade because both of their bullets were in the air at the same time and they both shot and killed each other. That makes perfect sense. That's totally fine. But what we have now, trades happen way more often when players are close to each other, like within 15 to 20 meters. That's when trades happen the most. Ah, the trade is great. Hey, another trade. One game, two trades. I remember specifically the day that they changed something. We'll get into what they changed in a second, but I remember the day and where I was. I was at Healing Waters and I was playing with teammates at the time, and I realized that whole day we were trading way more than we usually do. I was talking to my teammates. We all said the same thing. You know, what the hell's going on? There must be some kind of server issue going on. Something's happening. We don't know what. We didn't know what it was. We thought it was, you know, just the servers acting up, which they do sometimes, but it actually turned out that a few days after that, there was a blog post that they actually put out that specifically explains exactly what they did. And I was kind of in shock at the time because they explained everything. They sort of framed it as, to my surprise, as a positive thing. I'll link this in the description, but they called it the hit registration update. Came out June 30th, 2021. And you can read this yourself, but they go into what they did, why they did it, and that was when the game changed forever. Our investigation found that the most reported hit reg issues occurred during close quarters combat. In this situation, one player fires at an enemy but does not get a hit marker, meaning they do not kill the enemy despite seeing hits on the enemy causing a blood splatter effect. This is an obvious cause of frustration. Why was that happening? We've seen a dramatic improvement in hit reg errors. Yeah, how they said it was an error. One of the reasons they changed it was because the frustrating thing before this update, sometimes on your own screen, you would see an enemy, you would take a shot, you would see your bullet fire, and you're aiming directly at the person. And let's say in this example, they're not moving. The enemy's not moving. You take the shot, you should have hit them, but you don't, and then you die right after. That can be frustrating, I'm sure, but the reason why their bullet was deleted, which I'll get into why it wasn't in a second, the reason why their bullet was deleted is because according to the server, they were already dead before they fired a shot. The information from their PC going to the server arrived at the server after they had already died. So on their own PC, they see they shot, but they didn't get the kill because they were already dead. That was an annoying thing before. And this happened a lot of times, specifically with people that played with high ping. And if you think about it, it makes perfect sense because if your connection to the server is delayed, the information of you shooting is going to get to the server later, and you might already be dead before the information of you shooting gets to the server. And once that happens, obviously dead people can't shoot, so your bullet was invalidated. And in that blog post, they call it an error, which I think is funny. And what they did after the update is let the server wait a period of time to see if there's any information coming from the player that's dead to see if they shot. There's an 800 millisecond trade window that will let a dead person shoot. And that, to me, is where the issue is. February 2019. This is an older article from earlier in Hunt Showdown. The validation strategies involving looking at the past history of the world state, and figuring out if a gunshot from the client's position at that point of the map with that aiming direction, using that weapon with that ammunition, should have hit the target according to the records the server had on each player involved in the damage contention. In some ways, this means we allow you to slightly rewrite the server's world state history if your client's claim is deemed valid. The bigger your latency to the server, the further back in time those rewrites can go, though we do have a hard cap set at 800 milliseconds. That is the clearest explanation of trades. We allow you to slightly rewrite the server's world state. The world state is like, you know, where everybody is, who's alive, the positions of everything, all of that. Yeah, if your client's claim, your client being your PC, if your PC tells the server, if your client's claim is deemed valid, the bigger your latency to the server, the further back in time those rewrites can go. That's why you can see somebody flying backwards and they shoot you somehow and kill you. The further back in time those rewrites can go, though we do have a hard cap set at 800 milliseconds. Yeah, 1,000 milliseconds is 1 second. Yes. So that is 0.8 of a second. Yes.
Basically, when you shoot from the client, you shoot your own bullet on basically locally, and then you send the request to the server to also shoot. When you hit something on the client, then you report this hit to the server, and the server will validate this hit. The server will not basically act on its own and will not necessarily use its own projectile, but it will wait for the client, so it basically favors the client view and what he sees on his screen. The server will then perform a number of checks to check if what the client says is actually right, if it makes sense, and some parameters that are checked are, for example, the trajectory that the client reports, and if his position matches with what the server thinks, if the target's position matches with what the server thinks, and if everything checks out, then the hit will be validated and damage will be dealt.
That sounds great. Thank you for the recap. Please read our previous blog for a more detailed insight into that.
3 years ago.
What we noticed is that many hits were invalidated around the player who shot dying. So the problem was that the shots were invalidated because they hit something after you were dead on the server.
Yes. Doesn't that make a lot of sense? You were already dead according to the server, so you can't shoot because the server says you're dead.
And that was basically the majority of invalidations that we could see in the telemetry. We fixed that now. So
we fixed it. We did it, guys.
it means that your bullets will still hit and will be valid.
What? Let me translate what he just said. He said your dead body will still shoot, no problem. There's a very clear point I have to make. There's a very big difference between what he just said, which was you're already dead according to the server, and that your bullet is invalidated because according to the server you were already dead, right? That makes sense. The server says you are officially dead, therefore you cannot shoot. That makes total sense. A lot of people misconstrue that, or they misunderstand it, and they say, well, I shot, and they think that according to the server that means their bullet is traveling through the air and then they die, and then their bullet gets deleted. That's not how it works. It is only invalidated if you're dead according to the server. If you shoot and the server says, yes, you took a shot, and then you die before your bullet hits the target, your bullet just doesn't disappear. I'm not going to extract, but I'm going to go sit right over here, and we're going to keep watching that because I want to see more.
We fixed that now, so it means that your bullets will still hit and will be valid after your death. And this also dropped our invalidations in the telemetry by, I think, around 10 times. So, like, I think 90% of all invalidations were related to this. This may...
So think about that. He's literally saying that there are 10 times more trades now after the trade update than before.
90% of all invalidations were related to this. This may sound a lot, but in total it was still a very low percentage amount of invalidations in total. And now after our changes, it's less than 1% of all shots are invalidated.
Awesome to hear that it improved so much. But after we implemented this change, we've seen a lot of players notice that a lot of kill traits happen in the game. They are way more frequent. Could you tell us why that is exactly?
What could they possibly pull out of his ass?
Yes, yeah, we received reports of players. I also saw some videos about this, and basically the issue was that you shot on your client, and you like saw your hits by like blood splatters from the enemy, but you didn't get a hit marker, for example, and you didn't deal damage, and that was because between the time of your shot or your bullet hitting something, you died on the server. And like basically this information about you dying didn't reach you yet. So on the server, basically you were dead. And
specifically talking about high ping, that's the annoying part, is if you have high ping, then yeah, you would run into that kind of thing. What is he shooting at? Just stand in the open.
Like,
I think there's a person there.
This information.
And so they shoot at somebody. Let's say there was somebody there. They shoot at somebody and they were aiming directly at them. They didn't get a hit marker.
About you dying,
and then they die. That's because they were already dead according to the server, which makes total sense.
On the server, basically you were dead.
Yes.
And your shots didn't count.
Because you were dead.
Other player's perspective, though, for him, basically everything was fine, because from his perspective, he killed you before you shot at him.
Yep.
So he didn't complain, he killed you, and everything was fine for him, and he didn't get damage.
But now what happens is both players die and both people are unhappy. So in the dude, I've been saying this for so long.
Now, after our changes, these players started complaining, because now they get damage from these bullets that were already in mid-air, and now they don't get invalidated anymore as they did before, because they still basically survive a bit longer after your death and still count and will be validated.
Yeah, so to me it sounds like these trades now are more of a consequence of the changes we made, and it's not really negative, so it's how it's...
What? It's not a negative? You gotta be kidding me.
So it's how it's supposed to happen, because the bullet was already flying in the air, so it should still hit the other hunter. But if that's not the case, is this something that will stay like this in the game, or do we have any plans to change that?
So yes, it will probably stay like that, because you won't get damaged if the other player didn't shoot you. So you basically killed the other player while his bullet was already in mid-air.
Nope.
And now it will actually count. It will be validated, not invalidated anymore.
If he's dead according to the server, he shouldn't be able to shoot.
And that means you will also receive damage from this bullet that was already shot by him. So it's not like a bug or anything. It's because the mid-air bullets are not invalidated anymore.
If they're not mid-air bullets, they're bullets coming from a dead player.
And this enables...
He literally described it earlier. Again, you have to make a clear distinction between situations where somebody already did shoot and players did not shoot yet. He said before that it was invalidating your bullet if you were dead already according to the server. It wasn't your bullet getting deleted out of the air because you never shot. It felt like your bullet was getting deleted out of the air, but you were literally not alive when you clicked the button.
Technically, they never disappeared, but you could say more or less that they disappeared because they still hit something, but they were invalidated because of your death. So now this is not the case anymore. So now not only will your bullets continue flying, they will also be valid bullets, and they will cause damage.
Sounds good. I think that answers everything regarding what we already did. But after we did the changes, we still sometimes receive some hit reg reports, especially for longer range shots mostly. And what are we going to do to tackle those issues, or what are we planning on right now regarding that?
So yeah, I received also some video reports about long-range shots and penetrations that looked suspicious, and we also looked into that and improved some validations on the server that probably should be rolled out with one of the next updates. And we will also still continue looking into the telemetry data to find out about cases where shots get invalidated by mistake. So that's also like a very small chance that this happens. I also saw some videos about this. So basically, you shoot and you hit the other player, but it's invalidated by mistake. Take. So that's also like a very small chance that this happens. I also saw some videos about this. So
Look at the hunt
you
movement.
shoot and you hit the other player, but
I think there was some blood splatter right there. I mean, he didn't get a hit marker.
So basically you shoot and you hit the other player, but you don't get a hit marker, although from your perspective everything looks fine. But in these cases, apparently the server had another idea about this, and we tried to find out from the telemetry data, just like we did with the hits around your death, what is going on actually. We try to isolate these cases and then fix them.
Whew, crazy, dude. It takes like 2 seconds of critical thinking where you go, okay, we have a problem where people are complaining about this thing. What have other games done to solve this problem? And for some reason, they decided to add trades. They said they looked at everything, at all their options, and they for some reason decided that making it so players trade more often is the solution. What a crazy decision, right? The update allows dead people's guns to shoot. The drawback to this, to post update, is both people die and both people are unhappy. In the previous version of the game, before the hit registration update, one person died and was unhappy. So effectively, they doubled the amount of unhappiness in the game after this change. The crazy thing now is how predictable trades are. Trades, I mean, I can be in a situation defending a boss banish, and you know somebody is trying to push into the building, and I can predict at least 75% of the time when we're about to trade, and then we trade. And melee trade. Literally could see it 50 miles away. Considering we're playing on the internet, it's completely unavoidable to have latency. If there's any latency ever, there's 3 states to the game. There is what I see, there's what the server sees, and there's what my opponent sees, right? So there's 3 states to the game running at all times. Everyone has to agree that the server is king. What the server says, everyone has to agree on. So to me, at least in my opinion, if the server says somebody is dead, that should be the end of your life. There should be no window afterwards, after you die, where you are allowed to shoot. And some people would say, well, wouldn't that mean people with lower ping get an advantage? Yeah. Do you think people with higher ping should have an advantage? I don't. I don't think people with higher ping should have an advantage. I think you should be motivated to play on low ping. I don't know why that would be a good thing to play on high ping. That should be bad. So yes, I think someone with lower ping should have an advantage. That's how it should just work in gaming. Yeah, nice trade. You weren't dead for 5 seconds. I've seen some people say like solo necro is so great because if you trade that you can self-res, or I've seen people say that if they just added a ping cap or a region lock, that would reduce trades. I mean, that would be something that reduces trades, but I don't think that's specifically a fix for trades. That's just, would that help a little bit? And would that be an overall positive thing if there was an actual ping cap, which by the way, right now is 250. It used to be 225, but a couple weeks ago, they for some reason changed it to 250. But would a reasonable ping cap help trades? Yes. But if we want to actually like get to the root of the problem with trades, we have to look at something else. And the obvious thing to me is the trade update itself. The fact that the game waits a period of time in order to allow a dead person to shoot. That, to me, that does not make sense. Here is what Crytek said they'll do in the roadmap from 10 months ago. And in that time span, I don't think I've heard them talk at all about trades except for this right here.
We are moving to a decentralized backend for all our services next year. This will allow for updates without downtime and prevent regional outages from spilling over or cascading across multiple servers. This change will also give quicker responses to inventory and bloodline interactions, both in match and in menus. We are optimizing our network layer to improve the timing accuracy between players over the net. This should give notable relief on the common frustration points of rubber banding world positions, projectile path consistency, and the trade windows where players take each other out with painfully long delays between the on-screen deaths.
That's the only part where they talk about trades. They can at least recognize that there are painfully long delays between deaths. What makes it so frustrating for me is that they implemented them on purpose. So many people also, like I said before, they think it's like a bug, or they think it's a server thing, or just like some issue that they can't fix. But it is something that they intentionally, on purpose, added to the game. Yet they admit that it's a pain point in the game. So why didn't they do something about it sooner? I don't know. That's the frustrating part, because I just don't know. That's what they said they were going to do. What do I think they should do? I think they should just revert it. Revert that trade update. It came out years and years ago, but that is the issue. That is why there's trades, because they made them happen. Would 100% of the player base be happy if they reverted trades? Probably not, but I mean 100% of the player base isn't happy now. Trades happen all over the place, and we can't pretend that they're not extremely frustrating. 2 years ago, there was actually a Crytek partner at the time whose name was SlyJohn, and he made a video about trades and the state of the servers at that time. And shortly after that, he was no longer a Crytek partner anymore. I was somewhat friends with him at the time, and he was under an NDA, he said, so he couldn't talk about things. But shortly after that, he was no longer a Crytek partner. I thought his video was good because he addressed it. He made it clear he wasn't trying to bash the game or anything, but he pointed out that trades kind of were extremely frustrating. Let's take a quick look at the first few seconds of the video that he made. I'll also link this in the description.
As a viewer, I want you to ask yourself, is this acceptable?
Yeah, I couldn't.
Damn. Dude, it's close range fights. Every single time it's a trade. I just traded again.
What killed me, man? What? No way!
I put way over 2,000 hours in Hunt Showdown, both on console and PC. It's probably one of the most intense and fun shooters I've ever played. I love the game and I don't have any intention to trash it by making this video. But recently, I've come to this conclusion that the community has had enough of all the server problems and these things in the game. And I'm afraid it's really getting out of hand. Even though I have an impulsive personality, I never ever make any videos on my channel based on impulsivity. I think for days or weeks to prepare scripts and evidence when I want to criticize something. Even though I'm a partner with Crytek, it doesn't mean that I shouldn't deliver any feedback or criticism to them on my channels. Toxic positivity and silence can be far more damaging to a game than actually delivering constructive feedback about it. In this case, I've spent weeks collecting clips and gathered thoughts on how these server issues are slowly taking joy out of the game.
This was 2 years ago, and he said he was a partner. He was no longer a partner after this video. I know other people that know SlyJohn, he went and he wanted to do some real life stuff after this. I think he sort of also moved away for that, but it's pretty interesting looking at somebody else's point of view. So it's not just me that has this thought about how ridiculous trades are. Like I said, I'll link this in the description so you can watch it if you want. Trust me, I remember watching this video. He didn't bash the game. He didn't say anything super negative. He gave his opinion on trades and the state of the servers at the time, and I guess it seemed to me that they didn't like that. And like we've said many times, it seems like Crytek has an issue with criticism, even when it's very respectfully put together. So like I said, I'll include that video in the description if you want to watch it, but that's all I got. I hope you understand trades more. I hope they actually do something in the future that makes trades less frequent, less painful. Do all the good YouTube things, subscribe and like the video if you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.